Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, good evening. It's morning here in Christchurch, New Zealand. It's 6:45 a.m. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Sandra, for honoring this invitation. I'm going to read a background, a profile of Mrs. Sandra, and then after that, the next voice you're going to hear would be Sandra's. Sandra Oluwadare is a visionary leader, a dedicated and passionate professional in the field of family and child development, who is on a transformative journey towards building resilient families and empowering the leaders of tomorrow. She's a certified parent coach, child development consultant, certified practitioner of family systems engineering. She's an author and a speaker. She's the founder of the Winning in Parenting, a community set up to educate, empower, and equip parents to raise wholesome and well balanced children and achieve a harmonious family life. With her wealth of experience, she has deployed her expertise to coaching and mentoring a growing number of parents, childminders, and educators, both home and abroad, through her workshops, coaching sessions, parenting courses, books, as well as her signature coaching and mastermind programs for parents with lots of transformational results recorded. She has also served as a volunteer in many child-related outreaches and foundations. She is the founder of the Raising Outstanding Children Academy, ROCA, an EdTech mentoring platform where children between the ages of 5 to 19 are equipped and empowered with personal development skills to prepare them to navigate through life and thrive. She is the convener of the Winning in Parenting Conference, an annual gathering of parents where premium content on issues around parenting and child development are discussed with solution profiled. It is also an awareness and sensitization event where parents are made to understand the importance of positive and intentional parenting. She has shared her thoughts on parenting as a guest expert on TVC, STV, Spice TV, Channels TV, High Impact TV, Wazobia, Wazobia Max TV, Women's Radio, Inspirational FM, Smooth FM, and also as a columnist on Niger Times, an online news portal. Sandra believes that the family is the bedrock of society and is therefore committed to her work with parents to raise wholesome and well balanced children who would make a formidable impact in their world. She is happily married to her dear husband and a mom of two adorable children. Thank you, Sandra, once again for honoring this invitation. The floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Yinasim. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I'm just trying to turn on my camera. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Good evening, everyone. Good morning for those that are in New Zealand. Good afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to this session, and I want to take this opportunity to salute you, Lena Singh, and to say well done for the amazing work you do. You know, anyone who is sowing seeds in the family life space is actually doing the Lord's work. Let me put it that way. That person is doing a great service to humanity, and I just want to appreciate you and say well done for all you're doing in your space. And I pray that, you know, God will just continue to use what you do to create a change in society. Well done, and thank you once again for inviting me. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out to be here. So yeah, we're talking about being the right parent for your child, and Some of the things that I'm going to be highlighting today are not things that may be new to you, but when it comes to parenting, when it comes to marriage, family, anything that has to do with family life, we can't talk enough. We can't talk and say, oh, I have spoken once and then I'm going to bed. It's such a sensitive part of humanity that we need to just keep reiterating the values we want to see. We need to keep reiterating how things should be, by God's design. So, yeah, some of the things I'm going to be talking about are not things you may not have heard, but I just want to encourage you to, keep an open heart, an open mind, and, take what you need to take out of this session. It's a wake-up call, and I believe that God will just open our eyes, our hearts, to be aware of the areas where there are gaps that need to be fixed, and that we will also be courageous, we'll be disciplined enough to fill those gaps, we'll be disciplined enough to take the right steps in the right direction, because it's not about learning, not about loading up information and joining one live session to the other, but it's really about what we are doing with all of this, so that we're not suffering from information overload. So thank you once again. So when you're talking about, being the right parent for your child, it's about you being the best parent for your child. It's not about you being the perfect parent. There's no perfect parent. I am not a perfect parent. God is our perfect parent. So we're not here this evening to tell you that, oh, you are a bad parent or you're not doing enough. This is to sound the alarm, say, whatever it is you're doing, are you the right parent for your child? Are you being the right parent for your child? God doesn't make mistakes. God is not an author of confusion. And so if he gave you that child, he knew you could do a good job. If you're not doing a good job, it's that you are probably not informed enough, or you are not implementing the information that you have, or you are not just being sensitive to the needs of the child. But God doesn't make mistakes. And if he gave you Israel, he gave you Caleb, he gave you David as a son, he gave you Cynthia as a daughter, he believes you can do an amazing job. And that's one of the things we are here to do tonight. How can we be the right parent for our children? Because God knows that you can do the job, right? So it's not about being perfect, but how well do you understand the child you have? How well do you know their needs? The needs that are important to each of them, not every one of them. How well do you understand these needs? How well have you prepped your environment to support the growth of these children? How have you prepared your environment such that your child can thrive in that environment? And how are you growing? How are you developing yourself? How are you, working things out in your parenting journey? Are you just waiting to say, okay, yesterday we did this, today we're doing this, tomorrow this is what we're going to do? Are you parenting as it goes, like whatever or however form it comes, or however form these children manifest tomorrow, I'm going to take them like that, I'm going to take them like that? What is your plan? What is your plan? How prepared are you? Because if you don't have a tight strategy, you would realize that you are parenting from emotions. You are parenting with emotions. And when you do that, you have very inconsistent results, because even you don't know the next step you're going to take. You are not even sure of what you're going to do tomorrow. You're not sure of how you're going to discipline the child tomorrow, right? But once you have your strategy in place, it just makes your work easier, because parenting is an intentional work that is not a walk in the park. Anybody that says parenting is something you can just gloss over is actually not telling the truth, right? Parenting can be easy for you, but it's not something you gloss over. It's not something you say, I'll take it as I see it. No, it's a journey where you have to come with your A game. You have to come prepared. If you don't even come prepared and you think your toddlers or your preschoolers or your preteens, they are still listening to you, the years are coming when they will bounce you, like they will bounce you off, because they know that you don't know what you are doing. You are just taking it one day as it comes, But if you have a plan that you are working with, you have, and I'm not talking about your 1 year plan, especially when it comes to vision boarding. Say, oh, let's do vision boarding. Everybody's doing vision boarding for 2024. Why don't we sit down to do vision boarding from 2020 to 2030? Why don't we do 10 years vision boarding? Why don't we do 20 years vision boarding? Why don't we lay a foundation that the children, even when you are not there, they already know what you stand for? But when you are always doing yearly vision boarding, I'm not saying yearly vision boarding is wrong, but I'm also saying that we can take it a step further. Just imagine you have a 10-year parenting plan. Do you know how far that is going to take you? Do you know how it will reduce the volume of work you are going to be doing? So we need to approach parenting as a big deal. Just the same way you find organizations taking their board members or their staff to go on retreats. Sometimes they even take them to other countries, because they know that what they are going for is not just a vacation. What is going to happen in that retreat is what will bring the millions or the billions in the coming years. So they don't joke with it. They invest in things like that. So why don't we also take our time to say, oh, let's plan, let's do this long-term plan as regards our parenting journey and all of that. So being the right parent for your child is not us saying you have to be perfect, but it's us saying that you can't show up unintentionally. You can't come and do as you like, because that's not the kind of generation that we're dealing with. This is so important. So I'm just going to share a couple of tips that will help us, just get into that position where we become the right parent for our children. The first thing you want to do is to know who you're dealing with. You need to know who you are dealing with. Your child has come to you. He did not come to you with a manual, right? So you have to understand and just come to terms with the fact that for you to get the best out of that child, you need to discover that child. And how do you discover the child? You need to be a student of the child. A child that you cannot be a student of, how do you want to manage that child? How do you want to raise that child successfully? Because there are things the child will do that you will just overreact because you don't know the personality of your child. You don't know or understand the needs of your child. So the first thing you want to do is know who you are dealing with. Understand who you're dealing with. Study your child. Some parents, I was telling someone on the phone yesterday, I said, it was during a nurture Bible study. And I was saying that we need to go back to practicing mindfulness. A lot of parents don't understand what mindfulness is, or they understand, but they feel that it's not important. Do you know how many parents are looking at their children every day, but they don't know the color of their children's eyes? They don't even know the color of their children's hair, but they see their children every day. That is what mindfulness does. Mindfulness keeps you in the moment. Mindfulness makes you, it makes you aware of what is going on, because you can be in the same space with your child and you don't even know what's going on. If you are not being mindful, how are you going to fully understand your child? So we need to get to that position where we understand the children that we are dealing with. And one of the things that can really help you as well is when you leverage on the knowledge of the manufacturer of that child. When you decide to become a partner with the one who has given you that child, I'm talking about Father God, right? A manufacturer knows his products in and out. Well, the good manufacturers, they know their products in and out. They will tell you how to use the product. They tell you how not to use the product and all of that. So when it comes to our children, why do we feel that, oh, the first person we need to run to is a coach? The first person we need to run to is a da 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 da. Right? I'm not saying don't seek for professional help. I'm a professional. But what I'm saying is, let us not also forget the fact that there's somebody who made these children. He knows them. When he made them, he packaged a lot of things inside of them, assignments, solutions, and all of that, right? So we must not downplay the importance of the knowledge that we can get, or the blueprints that we can get from God when we depend on him to help us know our children. So what am I saying? You need to understand your child. You need to observe. You need to pay attention to the child's behavior. You need to understand what God, even if you don't understand like totality, even if it's just to an extent, you need to have an idea of what God is saying about the child. It could be before you gave birth to the child, maybe God gave you a name, and God's like, you know what, this child is going to live up to the expectation of this name, or something. Like, there's just something, that a clue that God can give you. And for some people, he can give you the whole blueprint and tell you this is what this child is about. But even if you don't have all of that information, God is not wicked. Still keep asking him, like keep on asking him. Keep on talking to him about your child, and he will open you up to things, to mysteries, to things, hidden things about your children that you can never know of by your own human understanding. So you want to understand your child's behavior. What are your child's preferences? Some parents don't even know what their children like or what they don't like. Some parents are forcing their children to do a particular thing. They don't even know that this child does not like it. And parenting is not presence. So I'm not shading parents that go to work or parents that are not available. There are parents who are always available, but they still don't know these things. So what are your child's preferences? What's your child's love language? You're forcing your child, you buy an expensive gift and you are worried. You're like, oh my goodness, this child is so ungrateful. This child cannot even say thank you. Do you know how much I got this thing? Sorry. The child does not really care about your gift, because gifts does not matter to him. He would rather have you give him hugs. He would rather have you say those beautiful things to him and all of that. So you will be there on one hand getting upset that your child is an ingrate. Meanwhile, the child is on the other hand wondering, oh, why can't anybody love me? And when they ask you, you'll be like, oh, I love my child to the moon and back. But there's a disconnect somewhere. So you need to know your child. You need to understand the emotions of your child. How does your child want to be corrected? I'm not saying you should spare your child when they do things that are not right. But there's a way you correct a child that will either empower that child or break the child's spirit. So you want to understand how best your child thrives in terms of discipline, in terms of appreciation, in terms of words of affirmation and all of that. You really want to know all of these things. And those are the things you share with your children's teachers. So open day is not just for checking your children's books and their schoolwork and all of that. It's also a time for you to let your child's teacher know that this is who my child is. When you correct my child this way, you can't get the best out of him. When you shout at him, oh, he would just, tune off and all of that. These are the conversations that we should be having with their teachers. And then you also want to know how their developmental milestones are coming. this is not a time, positive parenting is not about comparison. If you are comparing your children to other children, you are doing them a disservice. Children are unique in every sense of the word. Children are just amazing the way they are. Right. And they hit their milestones differently. The fact that your first child spoke when he was 2 doesn't mean that you should now start running and going to look for a speech therapist because your second child has not spoken by 3. It doesn't mean that because one child is so studious, prim and proper, very organized, you now start labeling and shaming the other child who is very disorganized and doesn't like to study. And you're like, oh my goodness, what kind of child is this? You need to understand how they are hitting their milestones. You can't put all your children in one box. They are different people, even if they are identical twins, right? So you need to familiarize yourself with the typical milestones that speaks to their age, right? You need to acquaint yourself with all of these milestones. And then you also need to understand that there are some behaviors that are expected, right? But because you have your own way of doing things, because you have your own school of thought, a child is carrying out an expected behavior and we are all over the place getting upset. Oh, this child would just not listen and all of that. If a 2-year-old is not listening to you, all he's saying is no, 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 no. A 3-year-old, there's nothing wrong with the child. You do not have a stubborn child. You have a 4-5-year-old who is eating, pouring water everywhere, messing up the place. Whether they are doing it intentionally or not, you do not have a problematic child. That is the expected behavior. You have a child who breaks a few things, in their journey from being a toddler to being a preschooler. There is nothing wrong with that child. Those are expected behaviors. I mean, cast your mind back to where you're coming from. You did not get here in a jiffy. I mean, we all are in the process of our making. We are still evolving. So why do we just expect children to become adults overnight? We expect them to be mature overnight. And because they are not mature as we want, we now begin to go hard on them. And, our expectations are very high. And then we put these children under unnecessary pressure. And at the end of the day, all the children are doing is trying to keep up. They are struggling, trying to meet up with unrealistic goals, unrealistic expectations that even us parents, some parents cannot even meet up to those expectations. So I'm saying that the first thing you need to do is to understand your child. Know the kind of child you have. Know how your child thrives. Know what is best for your child. Know the needs of your child. So you know the kind of school to put your child in. So you know the kind of teacher to employ for extra lessons or whatever. Very important. And then the second thing you want to take note of is the kind of environment. Now, every child is like a seed, right? And just like a farmer takes his seed, plants the seed, the farmer already knows what's going on with that soil. In fact, before the planting season began, the farmer already prepared the soil. The farmer already did ridges, hedges. He already put manure in the soil. The soil already has the right nutritional requirements, water, and all of that. And then when the planting season comes, it goes on to begin to plant. That is your assignment, or that is part of your assignment as a parent. Now you know your seed, you understand your child. What about the environment? What kind of environment are you raising your child in? What kind of environment? There are people who complain and say, oh, this child is not doing well. This child is not giving me what I want. But we need to understand, we need to ask ourselves this question. Have you planted the child in the right soil? Is the child in the appropriate environment? How is your home? How is the environment in your home? Is it safe? Is it a nurturing space? Does your child feel loved? Does it feel seen and heard in your space? Is your child safe when it comes to emotional security? Is your child safe when it comes to physical safety? Is it on point? When it comes to spirituality, is your child safe? These are the questions we should be asking ourselves. And so before we go on to point at a child to say, oh, this child is doing this or this child is doing that, I say that you can't label a child a problem child. You first need to go back and check if you have done your job. Then if you know that you have done everything, then you can come and we can have the conversation. But if the environment you are raising your child is not nurturing enough, that child might not do well. It's just like you planting okra seed where you're supposed to plant rice. Of course, you know that the okra will not thrive. And are you going to start complaining and say, oh, this okra seed was so bad. It was so bad. The okra seed did not thrive. No, that would be very unfair. You did not put the okra seed in the right environment. And so it won't thrive. In fact, it will die. Do you understand? So we need to go back and check. Is my home a positive environment? Is it a positive space where my child can thrive? The school, because children spend a lot of time in school as well. The school you have put your child in, is it a positive and safe space for my child? The teacher who is interacting with the child every day, is that teacher the best bet for my child? These are the questions we need to ask ourselves. And another thing we want to look at when you are talking about the environment is if the child can really learn in that environment, if the child can do well in that environment. Because we have people complaining that the child cannot write, the child cannot read, this child is stressing the parents and all of that. But when you take that child to another environment where they understand these things, I mean, the environment is so, it has been prepped in a way that, oh, you just feel like learning. You turn here, you find books, colorful books and all of that. Meanwhile, you are here in your home saying, this child doesn't like to read storybooks, so this child doesn't read and all of that. Meanwhile, the child is going to another person's house and he sees a library of colorful books. The child says, oh my goodness, sensory toys, sensory materials on one corner of the room. And the child sees that, oh my God, this child, hey, all his creative juices are flowing. And this child is just touching this, touching that. Before you say, hey, the child has read, papa, 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 papa. So what are we talking about? So that's it. We need to ensure that the environment is properly prepped to help the child win. And I'm not talking about spending so much money. You don't have to spend so much money. For example, when it comes to sensory, sand is something that can help their sensory development. If it is for you to get sand in a container, cover it up and put it somewhere in the room, you can encourage the child, go and play with sand. That's sensory activity. You can get cotton wool, put it in another container, put it there. By the time you are done, you have 6 to 10 containers with different sensory objects. You have stones, you have water, they are just running their hands, their fingers through water. Those are sensory activities. So you don't have to spend, so much to prep your environment such that your child can learn and thrive. Very important. And then another thing you want to do to be the right parent for your child is to be consistent, right? And this has to do with discipline. You need to set your boundaries and your expectations. Now, parents say that children, they don't listen, or they are disobedient, or and all of that, right? But we need to understand that before we can conclude to say, oh, this child is not listening, this child is stubborn, or whatever it is, we need to understand that we're walking backwards, right? What have you put in place when it comes to your discipline strategy? When it comes to how you're raising your child, how is your consistency level? Do you say one thing today and you're doing another thing tomorrow? How are you able to align your words with your actions. Because some parents say A and they are doing B, right? They're saying one thing to the child and they expect the child to keep doing the right thing when they are falling short, right? So we need to keep our rules consistent. Children are explorative in nature, and they would, as they explore, they are actually learning, right? So we need to encourage children by also setting boundaries. So even though they are going to be exploring, we need to set boundaries that can help them understand that, you know what, you don't cross this part of the line. You don't go here, you don't go there. Do you understand? So you want to establish clear rules and you want to explain the reasons behind your rules, right? Don't just come and say, I shared something on my Instagram yesterday. You have to carry them along when you're making rules, right? When you do that, they would comply with your, excuse me, they'll comply with your rules the more because they were part of the process, right? So you want to carry them along, make consistent, make clear rules, establish clear rules, be consistent, and carry them along so that they know what is expected and they know what is not acceptable. And as you are also, as you're also putting your rules and your consequences together, ensure that, especially for the consequences, they are aware. Let them know what will happen to them if they slam the door. Let them know what will happen to them if they speak to somebody in a rude manner. Let them know what will happen to them if they take what does not belong to them. Let them know the consequences before they actually break the rule. All right, this is so important. And then the next thing you want to do as the parent who is right for his or her child is to learn to communicate effectively. Now, this is very important. A lot of parents, they are just speaking, they are not communicating because you are saying A and the child is hearing B, right? It is important that we speak in a way that our children understand. We speak in a way that we all are on the same page. That's why you call a child to say, does your mom love you or does your dad love you? They say no. When you ask the parent, they say, oh, I love my child with the whole of my heart and with everything I have, right? But the child does not feel the same way. That is because of the disconnect in the style of communication, right? So you need to have communication that is effective. You need to be open. Your children should be able to come and have conversations with you. Your children should be able to express themselves. It's not a situation where children are hiding, they are running away from you because they broke a plate, because they poured water on the floor, they are running to hide. No. If your children are already doing that, there's a problem already. Make them as comfortable as possible, right? It's not as if that plate they broke is not painful to you, but you are not looking at that plate, you are looking at the future. If you start fighting with them and beating them for every plate they broke, now that they are still in that age where they are breaking plates, what about when they get to the stage when they are having crush, when they're having a crush? What will happen when they get to the stage when they're having boyfriends and girlfriends? So how would you communicate with them when you have broken the trust you share because of plates that they broke? Do you understand? So you need to begin to, you need to stop majoring on the minor. Focus on what is important. It's not every fly that flies by that you want to catch. You want to catch. Your child carries one step. You want to hit him. You want to shout. He carries another step. You are shouting from morning till night. You have to pick your battles as a parent. You have to choose your battles because the day is coming where you really need them to listen. But if you have been nagging, if you have been complaining about every single thing, when the time comes for important conversations, trust me, they will look for people that are cool, right? Because you have just been nagging and nagging and nagging, complaining and all of that. So I want you to look at the big picture when it comes to communication. Even if what the child has done now is wrong, how are you telling the child that what he did is wrong? Are you just shouting Hey, look at what you did. I'll beat you today. No, don't forget that in 2 years, that child will get to the stage where he will need to have difficult conversations with you, where you will need to talk to him about sex education, where you will need to talk to him about relationships. If you have been shouting and shouting now, sorry, you won't be able to talk to them. It will be a very awkward conversation. So let us learn to communicate effectively. And communication is not just about you talking. It's also about you listening. It's not every time you talk, or it's not every time you listen to lecture. Sometimes listen to understand. It's not every time your child is talking and the next thing you want to do is that you want to wait and jump in and say, hey, I told you that if you continue like this is what will happen. No. Sometimes just allow them talk. Even if they have goofed, even if they have done the things that are so wrong, just let them talk and express themselves. That's how you get to hear more. That's how you get them even coming to tell you what they didn't want to tell you. This is so important. And then another thing you want to do is to model the right behavior. You have to be a proper role model. You cannot be telling children to do one thing and you're doing another thing, right? The same values you want to see, you have to demonstrate them. You have to demonstrate them before you tell somebody else to walk. You have to walk the talk. Before you tell somebody else sing, you have to sing, right? So before you start telling your children do this and do that, I hope you are doing those things too. You're teaching them to be honest, to be reliable, to be dependable. You're teaching them to be loving, to be caring, to share. I hope you are doing those things too. You expect them to be respectful. I hope you are being respectful as well to other people, to your staff, to your spouse, to the people you are relating with, that they can see when you're driving on the road. What are you saying? Are you cursing every driver that tries to, just drive in a way you don't like? Don't forget that they are watching, they are listening. This is very important. And when we're talking about being a role model, it's holistic, because they are watching everything you're doing, right? How are you handling situations when things are not going your way, when things are not going as you have planned? How are you handling those things? How are you reacting? For example, we're supposed to go out and then it started raining. And because that rain is going to disrupt your plans, how do you react? You start sulking, you start talking in a way that is not nice, you start cursing. Oh, this rain, what kind of thing is this? They are watching you. And the day something like that happens to them, that's how they're going to react. But even though the rain is disturbing your plans, the way you handle the situation gracefully, you say, oh, wow, and I plan to go out today and it's raining. Well, thank God, in everything we give thanks. Well, all things are working together for my good. So I guess I'll just stay at home today and just maybe relax, and maybe it's a good time to rest, right? You can see the difference between the two responses. Your children are going to pick one out of the two responses. Whichever one you model to them, that's the one they will pick. And that's how they will live their lives. Very important. If you are fond of shouting and shouting and shouting in the house, that is how they will begin to shout. Then when they go to school, they will go and shout on their mates. They will shout and shout. And you'll be telling them, keep quiet. But how do you want them to keep quiet when they have been learning very well from you? So role modeling is very important. Let me quickly wrap up now. And then you need to also ensure that to be the right parent for your child, how much of a safe space are you? How much of a safe space are you, right? Are you the type that your child can easily run to and say, oh, this is what happened, right? Or will your child say, oh, I just made a mistake. I think I better run away from home. How safe are you? How safe is the space you have created for your child, right? Is your child comfortable enough to come to you? Can your child vouch for you and say, no matter what I do, if I come to mommy, even if she's going to scold me, even if she's going to be upset, She will not push me away. She's not going to tell the whole family that, hey, this is what I did. She's going to handle the situation gracefully, right? This is so important. If you are not a safe space to your child, children, especially in today's world, they deal with a lot of things. And so we must prepare ourselves to be there for them. If you think that you are too strong, you are too tough, you don't want to be lenient with them, you want to beat them at the slightest mistake, sorry. They will go and look for people that have their time. They will go and look for people that are more understanding. They will go out and talk to people that will not label them. And you, who is their parent at home that they're supposed to be talking to, you are there calling them names. So we need to be mindful of how we are making our children see us as their safe space. This is very important. They are going to go out there. They will meet with friends. Friends will want them to do bad things. Friends will want to influence them negatively. But the way you relate with them, the kind of parent-child relationship you share will determine if you'll be their safe space or if they will go and look for other people outside, right? This is so important. And then another thing you want to do is to be flexible. Don't be rigid. Don't say, this was how we were raised, though. This is how I'm going to raise all of you. Don't forget that that world in which we were raised does not exist anymore. Things have changed. Technology has evolved. So you need to be flexible. And maybe you have different ages of children. Don't forget that there's Gen Alpha. We have the Gen Zs as well, right? And the babies. So you need to understand the generation of children that you are raising. You can't do one size fits all. You can't say, oh, because I was able to pull this one's ears yesterday to correct it, you now want to pull the ear of your Gen Z. It will not work. It will not, you will just push them away, right? And you need to also understand that a child who you are not in his life today, it will be difficult tomorrow to now say you want to be in their lives. They want to talk to you today. You are too busy. You don't have time for them and all of that. I hope, tomorrow, when they're becoming more mature and all of that, you cannot just appear in their lives all of a sudden. So you need to start building that relationship. You need to start cultivating that relationship. You need to allow your children give you feedback. It's not wrong if your children tell you, Mom, Dad, this is what you do, and I don't think I like it. I don't think I'm comfortable with it, right? And when they tell you things like that, accept it. Oh, thank you for telling me. Okay, so how best do you now want me to relate with you? Let them say what they want to say. It doesn't mean that whatever they say is what you will do finally. But you are just letting them know that their opinion counts. You're just letting them know that you also that you are mindful of their feelings as well. You want to let them know that you are ready to also validate their emotions, right? So you want to ensure that you are getting feedback from them. Oh, Mom, when you speak to me like that, I really don't like it. It makes me feel very little. Like I feel very small. It affects my self-esteem, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, as a parent, our children should be able to talk to us respectfully. That's how we get feedback. Anything you are doing that you're not getting feedback for, I mean, you need to question it. And that's why people have accountability partners. You need to have somebody telling you that what you are doing is wrong. And it is okay if your children are telling you that the way you speak to us is not nice, right? And they can do that respectfully. If they are doing it in a disrespectful manner, correct them, teach them how to do it respectfully, but you have to be open to receive feedback because you are a leader. And a leader has followers. Your followers must be following you, except you are not leading well. So you can't say you are the parent, you are in front, you have left your followers behind. You have left them behind and you say you are the parent because you want to do your own thing. Nobody is giving you feedback. You talk the way you like, you act the way you like. Nobody dares tell you anything. No, that is not a wholesome parent-child relationship. So be open to feedback. Be flexible. If you see that maybe bedtime for your other children, your younger children is 8 p.m., as they begin to grow, you can say, okay, your bedtime is now 9 p.m. That's you being flexible. This is so important. And then finally, or okay, one more before I'm done, you need to take care of yourself. For you to be the right parent for your child, you need to take care of yourself. We all know this very popular saying, self-care is not selfish. If you truly love your child, you will take care of yourself. Do your medical checks. Do your health assessment. Check your numbers. Know your numbers. Check your BP. In fact, if possible, check your BP every day. Check your blood sugar, maybe every week. Do your liver function test, your kidney test. Do your health checks, especially for those of us that are in the faith. Don't think that if you go and do your health checks, then you are going to fall sick or you don't have faith. No. Know your health status so that you will know what to do in time. Prevention is cheaper than cure. And if you truly love your children, you want to be there for them, right? Do your exercises, eat the right kinds of food. Don't say you can't be a proper role model and it's only sugar. You are eating sugar, sugar, sugar. You are the one that will drink this fizzy drink. You drink that fizzy drink. You eat biscuit. You did no. Eat well. Eat well. Eat vegetables. Don't be binging on all the sugary things that you see. Keep fit. Exercise. If you need to talk to a professional, if you need, let's say you are already experiencing parenting burnout, you're already tired, overwhelmed, and it looks like, anybody that if my child says one more thing, I can just hit her. The reason why you are reacting that way is because you are tired. You have been overstretched, and you need to take a breather. You need to take a break. No matter how calm you are, once you are tired, once you are overstretched, you can become the most violent mom or dad. So taking time out to rest, to relax is not a bad thing. It's actually something you are doing because you love your family. So seek help, seek support. If you need to ask for extra help from people around that you can trust, please by all means do. And then the next thing or the last thing I would like to talk about is encourage your child to do things by themselves. Don't babysit them, even after they have passed that age, right? Encourage them to think critically, encourage them to solve problems creatively. Don't always jump into to save them when they get into difficult situations. Let them think, how can I get out of this situation? What can I do? What can I not do? And all of that. Raise them to be independent, right? This is so important because if you don't, you are the one that will bear the brunt. They will have to depend on you for a lot of things, even when they are old enough to do those things themselves. So you want to ensure that you are not just feeding them every day, but you also want to ensure that you are putting deposits inside of them. You are empowering them such that even when they are not there with you, when they're in school, when they're out there doing one thing or the other, they know what to do. They can think. They don't have to wait for you to help them make a decision. They know the right decision to make. They just know what to do, even if it's not a perfect decision. But you know that they are growing in their ability to negotiate, to solve problems, to, get out of difficult situations and all of that. This is so important because it is not easy to be your child's PA for life. It's not easy to be your child's personal assistant. They want to carry one step forward, they will call you first. They want to carry one step backward, they will call you. It will be great if your children check in with you when they are making decisions. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that when they need to make a decision on the spot, they don't know what to do. That's what I'm talking about. It's a position that it can make you get weary. If you have to be doing, they have a misunderstanding with their friend, you are the one that will go and settle it. You are the one that will look for the clothes they will wear, even when they are 10 years old. You are the one that will, you will get tired. So raise them to be independent so that you can enjoy yourself as well. And last but not least is I want you to raise your children with this in mind, that you are creating a legacy. What legacy are you creating, right? Your legacy of faith, whatever it is, you want to transfer your faith to your children, your religion, whatever it is, just have the have this mindset that you are not just raising children, but whatever it is you are doing, however you are interacting with your child today, you are creating a legacy. You are writing a legacy. So if you are doing a shabby job, that's a shabby legacy you are creating. If you are doing an amazing job, that is an amazing legacy you are creating. So we need to be mindful. We need to understand that whatever it is we are doing on a daily basis is seed sowing, just like a farmer. You are sowing seeds and you will definitely reap the harvest. So it's a time for us to wake up and say, okay, what are the areas where I am not meeting up? And how can I ensure that I meet up? So that's where I'm going to be drawing the curtain. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. Yeah.
Thank you so much. My notebook is full. Like I have pages and pages that I've written. I've gleaned
Wow.
a lot, and a lot. Like I feel like this meeting is actually for me. Like thank God.
Wow.
Thank God. It was actually, I remember when I told you about this topic in March. I don't know. I was just sitting down and the Holy Spirit just gave me that topic. And I was like,
Mm.
okay, I'm going to see how I can get you to talk about this, because all of
Wow.
us are learning. Like parenting is not intuitive, it is actually a learned skill. The same way you would hire an accountant or a medical doctor to take care of your health, or an accountant to take care of your maybe invoices or your bills or some of the things that you need done because you're not an expert in that aspect. The same thing you need to learn from people who are already there, people who are already ahead of you, because you cannot just assume that you know what you're doing unless you learn from other people. You always make a mistake. So thank you so much for this, because we're actually not born to be able to like deal or manage our children's behaviors. We're actually not born with that. We're not wired to know what to do with our children. That is why we learn. And this is like a learning um, opportunity for me. And I've been learning from you a lot anyway, because at least I watch your videos on YouTube and on Instagram, and I follow some of the webinars, some of the meetings that we have. Most times, if when I'm awake, I get to follow them. Thank you so much for this. And
Thank
for me,
you.
my take home would be my ability to model the right lifestyle or the right behavior I would want to see in my children. If you are, if you okay, for example, you are trying to like help our children to build self-esteem. How can you allow help your children to build self-esteem if you, the parent, does not even know that you're supposed to have a self-esteem? Or if you don't even know that there's a way you should carry yourself as a parent, or you don't even know that I'm supposed to at least be able to self-regulate, like what you said. If you come out of the house and it's raining, how do you take the situation? How do you handle the situation? Or when you're driving and somebody just cuts you off, and maybe somebody is driving slowly in front of you, how do you handle the situation with grace? How do you handle situations around you here, even at home? Like um, how do you interact with your children? How do you interact with your friends? When you call your friends on the phone, how do you talk to them? How do you like talk to your husband or your wife? How do you handle situations that are not really favorable to you? So I think parenting is all about you, the parent, first, before it becomes about the child. It's about how you handle situation, how you allow your children to see what you do and to um, copy that behavior. Because whatever values we have, the same values will transfer to our children. You cannot give what you don't have. You can't give what you don't have. You always give out what you have. Even if you try to pretend, it won't really last forever. Thank you so much. We're really grateful. So for the people here, is there anyone that has a question? If there's any question, if you can unmute and ask your questions if you want. Or should I unmute them? I think I can unmute everybody. Is there any question? You can type the questions if you don't want to speak. Is there any question before we call it a day? Seems there are no questions. I think there's a message. Where is it? Let me read it.
Yeah. Hello.
Okay. Hello, Lynn. I think there's a glitch somewhere. Maybe if the network is problematic, you can type your question if that's okay with you.
Parents want.
When the boy says he's not happy with boarding at the school.
Boarding school.
Okay.
When a boy says he's not happy with boarding and prefer day school. Okay.
Okay.
I don't think that if you'll be able to help out.
So you want to know what to do in that situation, right? So I'm guessing that's what the question is about. So in a situation like that, you, like I said at the beginning of the session, you need to understand the needs of the child. You need to understand the needs of the child. The needs, okay, and parents want boarding school because of a better concentration. Okay, so now what you want is not the only factor that will be considered. You also need to consider the child, because it is the child that will be in that environment, right? Not you. You want to understand the needs of your child. Now that I spoke about getting to know your child, what kind of person is your child? Because as much as boarding schools, it's great and all of that, I don't have any issues with boarding or day. The issue I have is with the child. What is the child's need? Will the child thrive in a boarding school? Or do you think that's the environment that will help the child concentrate better? Is that what you think? Or is that what will be? There are two different things. Do you think the child plays a lot, so to help deviate from too many gadgets at home? You see? So, Lynn, the issue is not, it's not the boarding school that will take care of that. Do you understand? If he gets to the boarding school and he also has access to gadgets, it will continue. And it will even be something that you're not comfortable with because you won't be there with him. Now, the issue, you've just hit the nail on the head. The issue is exposure to gadgets. And that's something you can take care of from home. Now, you lose your 100% privacy the day you become a parent. Even when your child is still a baby, you and I know that a little from your privacy is gone, right? Then when they start growing up, there are many things that you used to do that you won't be able to do. for me, yes, the environment promotes more concentration and 100% away from gadgets. Okay, Lynn, I'm coming there. I'm still coming there. Now, the child is very hooked on gadgets. How did he get there? If you take such a child, if you remove him abruptly from all his gadgets, the child is going to, let me not use the word that is coming to my mind. The child will not like you. Do you understand? Because even as adults, for example, if I take your iPhone, I say I want to discipline you. You are always pressing your phone. I'm going to take your iPhone. Even as an adult, how would you feel? If somebody wants to take my iPhone, hey, I'm going to be very upset with that person because that is where I literally do everything. Do you understand? Now, my parent has raised me in a way that I love my gadgets. And now you want to take it away from me just like that. You want to send me to a boarding school. Do you understand? So this is not a surface area treatment. This is not something that you just say, off the gadgets. No, it is a process. You have to detox him from gadgets. Even if you are still going to send him to boarding school, you have to detox him from home. Let him know the reason why you are detoxing him from gadgets. So that when he now goes, he knows that this is the reason why I am staying away from gadgets. It will not be a situation of I'm staying away because my mommy said I should stay away. Do you understand? So you have to do some work on him. Get him off those gadgets from home. What I was trying to say something about us losing our privacy 100% when we have children. For example, if you know that by you turning on your TV, you can't say you're a parent, I can't do without TV. It's better you wait to let them go to bed. If you know that your child is already hooked on TV and you know that the child is not concentrating, he doesn't even pass his exams and all of that, then you would also have to stay away from the TV because whenever he sees you watching, he might be interested. He might go and hide somewhere, maybe behind the chair, watching as well. So you have to also make that sacrifice to say, okay, until this child goes to bed, I'm not going to watch TV. Do you understand? And then you need to intentionally detox him from those gadgets. If he wants to cry, let him cry. Because those things are not going to help him at the end of the day. Do you understand? You have to come up with a plan. If it's for you to, let him know that, oh, this and this are the side effects of becoming so hooked on gadgets. It's not going to help you concentrate. You won't like to read and all of that. Let him know everything that happens when he's like that. Do you understand? And then tell him that, okay, this is what we're going to be doing. If you used to get like 20 hours on your device or 18 hours on your device, I'm going to reduce it to 5 hours, or I'm going to do this. It depends on the need of your child. I cannot fully tell you this until I personally assess the child. Do you understand? But because you are his parent, you know the child better than I do at this moment. You know how to help the child. But just sending him off to boarding school just to get him to concentrate. The child is already hooked on gadgets, right? And when they are watching, there's this is like dopamine rush, this excitement. They want fast things and all of that. So you cannot just leave the child high and dry. You just leave him to drop from above and just put him in that school. Do you understand? You have to work on a process and detox him from those things. Then you can say, okay, off to boarding school. But if it is because of concentration and gadgets that you are sending him to boarding school, you can actually achieve that right there in your home. And that's part of the work that we do. Yenasim said something. It's just the same way we hire professionals in other areas of our businesses and all of that. If it's something you cannot do, you can seek help. Do you understand? You can reach out to Yenasim you can reach out to me. I don't know. I think you are from our community. I'm not really sure.
Mm.
But whatever, or reach out to any other parenting educator or anyone that can help you. But what I'm trying to say is that if it is because of concentration and gadgets, if it is those two things, those two things that want to make you send him to boarding school, you can achieve those things from your home. Even now that the child is still hooked on gadgets, all you need to do is to have a strategy, and you'll be able to help your child. Because what happens is that most times people just go take their children to boarding school. Maybe they will change, they'll be better. No, no, no. Something has already been deposited into that child's life as a seed, and a seed grows. A seed grows. So until you take time to uproot what you don't like and come up with your strategy, that thing that is in the child, it will still grow. Do you understand? So that is it. If you want, I'm not saying boarding schools are bad. The child can go to boarding schools, but I'm saying that you need to work out a strategy to first win him off gadgets, right? Before you now send him off, or get help, right? And the third option is that you can still achieve all of those things in your home if you work with the right kind of help. I hope that answered your question, Lynn. I hope that answered your question. Please let us know. Okay.
You're welcome. And I would want to share something, just a little story. What happened? That's my own testimony, actually. So I just became a mother 5 years ago. I know your son, or your child, is older than mine, Lynn. But when we started this journey, like, I thought I knew it all, because it took me 7 years waiting, praying before we had our children. So in those 7 years, I was reading, learning about marriage, learning about parenting, but I thought I knew it all until the children came. Then I realized I don't even know anything. So when my children came, like my son, I have my son is the first child. So I realized, so for me, what I do is every time I'm at home, I keep the phone on the fridge where they can't even reach it. And then I put it on loud speaker, whatever it is, instead of putting it on silent like I do at work. So if people call me, if there's a message, I get to pick the phone and reply immediately and put it back on the fridge. That was when I started that, because I realized my son, okay, whenever he cried back then, my husband would give him the phone to pacify him. And I didn't like that. So it was actually becoming a problem for us. Then I had to contact Praise for Wowe. That was when I met Mr. Praise. And I explained the situation to him, and he was able to help me at some to a certain level. And then I had to talk to my husband. I said to him, "This is what I've learned, and this man is actually somebody who has been in the field for a long while, and I actually trust that he will be able to help us." So I spoke to him. He was able to listen, but he thought I was just were doing things. So what we did was, we decided, because my son used to have he has an iPad, so he used to be on the iPad like all the time. He goes to school, but then the moment he comes back, iPad. In fact, when we had that problem, my husband gave my son an iPad in the morning before he went to school. In the morning, like early as 8. And I didn't want, I was just upset about that situation, that he gave him that phone, iPad. So I went and collected the iPad from him. And then my son was just crying and crying, and I didn't know what to do. I was feeling bad that he was crying, but at the same time, I didn't want him to have the phone. But then we worked, and then we talked. And now what we've decided to do is no more iPad or even TV. So we don't even watch TV in the house. Only on Fridays. We watch TV. He watches TV, and him and his sister, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays for a certain period of time, not the whole day. So like mornings they play, they go to school on Fridays, they play. When they come back, we enjoy the time together. We do reading and writing, which is something we do every day. They are learning to write, and then I read to them, and then I give them iPad, and then I put something on TV to just while away time, and then for 2 hours, and that's it. We go to bed by 8 o'clock. So it is something we can actually like do So we need to work with our spouses. It is easier if both of us are working together, like I did with my husband after contacted Mr. Praise for Owe. I had to like talk to him. We had to come together to agree that okay, this is what we need to do for this boy before that was before my daughter came. So we were able to work together. So if both of you, you and your wife, will be able to work together, it's easy. And then you have to model that behavior, because what I was doing was to put my phone away so they don't see me playing on my phone or being busy on my phone, and then I'm telling him not to play on the iPad. So you model that behavior that you would want them to see. If you want them to be focused on the dining table, to not play when they are meant to be eating, you too do not play or chit chat when you don't, if you don't want them to do that. So it's easy. All we need to do is be the parents that be work on ourselves first, which is not easy. But then this is something we will have to do for the sake of the future, for the sake of our children.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So right,
Mm,
so right. Thank you for sharing, Yasin. Thank
mm.
you.
Yeah, I think that's okay. I don't think there's any. Oh, you're welcome, Mr. Lin. You're welcome. You're welcome. So, if there are no further questions, I would like to thank everyone that took out time to join the meeting. Thank you so much, Mrs. Sandra. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to learn, to glean from your knowledge, from your wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking out time. I know it's already evening in Nigeria. It's already almost 8 o'clock, I think, or almost 9 o'clock, and it's almost like bedtime for some people, especially if you're an early night person. So I'm sure it's almost bedtime for you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really grateful. I am honored. Thank you. May God bless you and the family. My regards to the children and everybody.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful, and my regards to your family as well. Thank you. And thank you
Thank you.
everyone for listening. Thank you. Thank you. Bye for
Yeah, I'm
now.
going to share. I'm going to
Thank
share the
you.
recording soon once I get it.
All right.
Thank you.
All
God
right.
bless.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.